Hi, my name is Adam Yaw. I am a service tech here at Veerinx RV Center, and today I'm going to be showing you around a Durango 325 RLT by KZ. This fifth wheel might not be identical to what you may have, but a lot of the components will function the same. So to get started here, we have two 30-pound LP tanks with an automatic switchover regulator. To use LP in your unit, just turn on both valves and this window will turn clear. When one tank is empty, whichever way this black knob is pointing, this window will turn red. At that time you can go ahead and turn this valve off, remove it from the unit and go and get it filled. When you come back, you're going to want to switch this over. This will go back to clear and you can continue on. If you continue to do this process, you should never run out of LP as long as you keep one or the other filled. Moving into the wet bay, on this Durango you have the Nautilus control panel, which all the different functions are labeled here. You have dry camping, power fill tank, city water, winterize, and sanitize. In order to use any of those, you just turn these colored knobs and match it up to whatever it says. So most of the time you're going to be using dry camping, that's using water from your fresh tank via the water pump up to the fixtures. If you're at a full hookup site, you would connect to your city water connection, which is here, and turn it to the city water setting. That way you can just turn on the water and that will go to your fixtures. You must always have a water pressure regulator in between the hose at the park and your unit. That keeps the water pressure down and keeps it from doing any damage. Up here in the corner you have satellite and cable connections. If your park has cable for the people that are camping there, you can hook up to your cable connection. If you have a portable satellite, you can hook up to the satellite connection and that will run into your TV. This black connection here is for your tank flush. It's always a good idea to use the tank flush anytime you drain your black tank. What that does is just washes down the inside of the black tank, keeps your monitor reading correctly longer, and keeps everything clean and flowing like it should. With your black tank, remember always RV only toilet paper, just to keep that monitor reading correctly again. Up here you have another water pump switch that can also be turned on inside as well as outside. This is just a hot and cold faucet with a quick connect so that you can connect a coiled up hose up to that and then spray anything else off that you need to outside. Moving on to your water heater. You have a drain plug here. This is an anode rod. This goes in right into the bottom. What this does is coats the inside of the tank, keeps the tank in better condition longer. This one has a welded nub on the end, as you can see there. The next one, after this is all deteriorated, this material on the outside will eventually erode away. And when that is all gone, you replace it with a new one. The next one will be flat on the end. It does not have this welded nub on the end, and you go back and forth between the two. That's going to take some time, probably a couple years before you ever have to replace that. There is a small black switch down here on the bottom side of your water heater. That is for the electric element. In storage mode, or if after you winterize it you're putting it away for the winter, you can turn that off. That way if it's ever turned on inside and the water heater is empty, the element will not come on. It only takes a few seconds for that element to be on without water in the tank for it to burn that element out, so you don't ever want to turn it on with an empty tank. These two buttons you never have to worry about. These are for service only, so just because they say push to reset, it's never a good idea to push those unless you're having an issue, and the service department that you're dealing with will use those to resolve the issue. Up here you have a pressure relief valve. This will weep as you're using the water heater, so if you do see some water in the bottom of your water heater out here, that's totally normal. And you always want to open this up before you pull this drain plug out. Just crack this, it'll let any water or air out of there, and keep this from shooting out at you when you remove it. That's it for the water heater. This unit has a 50 amp power supply with a locking collar on it. So this 50 amp cord looks like so and connects in here. Get a small turn and then this locking collar will keep it from getting pulled out by accident. Down below you have two low point drains. One is blue and one is red. If you open these up for winterizing or in between trips, you can get a lot of the water out of the unit itself. Open these up and turn the valves on inside, and gravity will get a lot of that water out for you. You can leave those open until your next camping trip. Sewer discharge is right here. It has a bayonet cap that locks on it like so. The sewer hose will connect the same way. And you have discharge valves here, or gate valves. One's black and one is gray. The black one is for your black tank. Gray one is for your gray tank. These just slide in and out. You always want to start with your black, let that drain, and then finish with your gray. When you're going to use your tank flush, always make sure this black valve is open. You never want to use your tank flush with this black valve closed. Moving on to your slide out, you always want to keep an eye on these slide out seals. Make sure they're not ripped or torn, in good condition and nice and soft. Before fall storage or for the winter, it's always a good idea to take seal conditioner and spray down these seals all the way around, also on top if you can. What that does is in the springtime when you go to run this slide out, it's not going to stick to the seal and tear the seal off the side of the unit. It also keeps the rubber in good shape and just an overall better seal for longer. With having a slide out, you always want to make sure that nothing falls on top of it. You don't want any sticks or branches to get stuck between the wiper seal, which is the same as this seal on the side, but it goes along the top. If anything gets stuck in behind there, that's going to cause a leak. So just with any slide out on any unit, make sure that nothing is on top of it before you run it in. Over here at the entry of your unit, you have a lend-a-hand handle here that folds in and folds out. During travel, this handle is usually in this position, and then it gets lifted up and folded out when you need to get in your entry door. This is a cable out connection, so if you were to have a picnic table out here with a TV on it, you can hook up to your cable and have cable TV out here if you're connected in the wet bay on the other side. Some GFI protected outlets out here. This is a catch for your entry door. And this is the back of your furnace. If you're running your furnace in the fall or some cold weather camping, this is going to get hot and it is underneath the awning, so be careful not to have anything pushed up against this while it's running. It will get hot enough to melt a camp chair or anything else. Small children, if they were to touch that, would get burned. Over here, this is where your battery compartment is on the bottom half. This battery is going to be charged anytime that you're connected to shore power or when you're connected to the tow vehicle. This unit has a household refrigerator, so it also has an inverter. Your unit may have a standard RV type refrigerator, so it doesn't have an inverter. There's also a battery disconnect in there, which is also handy to have for storage reasons. If you're to turn that to off and leave a light on inside, that's not going to kill your battery. These batteries are not sealed, so you do have to keep an eye on the water level and make sure that that is topped off. Anytime that's charging, you are going to be evaporating liquid out of there, and you don't want a dry battery that will damage it. This Durango is equipped with a Lippert auto level 4-point leveling system, 1-button leveling, as well as hitch height recognition, and you also have a retract all button. That's all described here on this sticker on the door. Now that we're done with the outside, we can move inside and I can go over a couple different things on the inside with you. Starting here, you're going to have a monitor panel. This is a typical monitor panel and configuration. You have a battery button on this side, which if you're plugged in to your shore power and you hold this button down, it's going to be telling you that your battery is charging. If you're unplugged, this will only say good, fair, or low. Those 3 lights will light up for good, 2 for fair, and 1 for low. Your fresh tank, as you fill your fresh tank, this will continue to go up, telling you that it's when it's full and when it's empty. Then you have a button for a black tank and a gray tank. If your unit is equipped with 2 gray tanks or 2 black tanks, you'll have this switch that says main and extra. It lists 1 here, so you'd have to go to extra tank and then push gray again to see the level of your second tank. 2 water heater switches. 1 is for electric, 1 is for gas. You can run them both at the same time if you would like. You get a little bit faster return out of the hot water if you have them both on, but if you're plugged into a campsite, you might as well just use electric and save your gas. This is a fault indicator light here. If something were to happen with the gas portion of your water heater and it failed to light, that light will stay on, letting you know that you're either out of propane or it failed to light for some reason. Your water heater is all turned on inside. There is no pilot or anything for you to worry about. Next switch is a water pump switch. If you are carrying water with you or you're dry camping, you have to use the water pump to pull water out of your fresh tank and supply all your fixtures. The water pump has a pressure switch on it, so it's only going to run when there is a demand. So you can come in, turn this on, it's going to pressurize the lines, and then it's going to shut off. As you open up a faucet, your water pump will kick on, you'll have water, turn it off, it's going to shut off by itself. And then there's just a couple light switches over here. Depending on your model, you might have more than just these two, but there's an awning light switch there and a floodlight switch. You have a standard microwave here. Nothing special about this being in an RV. It has a standard turntable, all the standard buttons and operations that you'd have on a normal microwave. Hood light and hood fan here. If you're going to be using the fan on the exterior of the RV, there is a flap that needs to be opened to allow air to go out. But anytime you're not using that fan, keep that flap closed, just so that bugs and anything else can't get inside your unit. Moving on to the stove, this is going to light just like a regular stovetop would. This has a gas 3-burner with a spark ignition. So you would turn this to light, hit the spark ignition, and it lights. You do that for each one of the burners and set it to whatever temperature that you want. If you are going to be using the oven though, you do have a pilot. So this knob is going to be turned to pilot, and then you have to hold it in and push the spark ignition. What that's going to do is it's going to light a small pilot underneath the burner. You hold this in for about 10 to 15 seconds, and after that you turn it to your temperature. As soon as you turn it to your temperature, it's going to light the main burner in your oven. If you turn this back to pilot, the pilot will stay on. It's just a small blue flame, and you can leave that on if you're going to be using the oven a couple times during the day. Always recommend always turning it to off if you're not going to be using the oven, just because you don't want to forget about it and leave that pilot going inside your oven. So anytime you turn it to off, it's going to kill everything and it's going to be completely off. A few more appliances here. You have your TV for your living area. This is going to work just like a standard TV would at home. Bluetooth radio, AM, FM, Bluetooth. You do have a couple speaker buttons over here so that you can turn interior speakers on or off and exterior speakers on or off. Down here on the bottom you have a fireplace. This does have remote control. You can set your lighting by the dimmer switch. Also you have a heat switch which can be turned on. It's an electric element that blows out hot air here from the top, so you can have that on low or high. Temperature setting, so this does have a thermostat, so you can set it to a certain temperature and then it will come on when it drops below that temperature. And then a timer. If you want it to run for a certain amount of time, you just set your timer. Like I said, this does have a remote, but it also can be controlled right here on the front panel. This unit's equipped with a max air vent. So this vent can be turned on and off using a remote. It also has a rain sensor, so the vent lid will close if it starts to rain. Temperature control, also speed control, all done on the remote. So you can set your temperature for it to come on at a certain temp, go off at a certain temperature, and then also control your speeds using this remote here. This unit has an LCI touchpad. So using this touchpad, you can run your slides in or out. You would choose which slide you want it to run and then press in or out. Go back to the home screen. You can run your awnings in or out. It's going to function the same way as your slides. It just has a retract and extend button. You have to hold them down and your awnings will extend or retract. Also, you have a lighting, so that's going to do your front cap light on or off, and then a leveler, so you can check your level from inside. Also make any adjustments that you might have, that you might want to do, all from inside here. The thermostat, this is for your furnace and for your air conditioner. The system switch, if you push it all the way to the left, that's going to be for AC, labeled cool. If you want to just circulate air using the air conditioner, you can turn it to fan. You have off, and then your furnace is heat. That's all the way to the right. For your furnace, you have a temperature control here. And for your AC, just set the temperature, that the desired temperature, and your AC or your heat will turn on depending on what setting you're set to. On the right hand side, you have a fan setting. It's going to be auto, high, low, and then low, high, on the right hand side. Now this is just for AC, this is not for fan. If you have this set at fan, it's going to be a constant speed. If you have it on cool, then if it's on auto, it's going to automatically choose low or high, or you can set it to low and high. Moving into the bedroom, where a lot of times you will find the power antenna booster button is right here. That's for over-the-air local stations. That powers up your antenna that's on the roof. You must have that on in order to get any TV stations when you do your search through the TV. So that is a brief overview of this Durango 325 RLT. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this may be different than the fifth wheel that you have, but a lot of the components will function the same, so you can use this as a reference. If you have any further questions, feel free to contact our service department at the number below.